Hello everyone and welcome on Hearthstone Herald. This is Mage speaking, and today is supposed to be Wednesday, but it's Thursday because on Wednesday I was planning on making a budget deck day, and well, the first video I did, I had a problem with the sound, and then I did a second video and then I screwed up something completely. I completely lost the file, so I don't know where it is. And well, so I'm here. I'm doing the video over again, and I'm having a lot of troubles because I keep being called on the phone and having to do it all over again. So now, if someone calls me on the phone, I'm not answering unless it's my wife, which is the most likely case. So, why budget Wednesday? Well, Hearthstone is announced as a free-to-play game. And I think that a lot of people are expecting to play the game and to be successful at it without having to pay anything. But in order to get there, you will have to build a deck that is at least a little bit competitive, because in the beginning you're going to start off and you're probably going to face people who did pay. And indeed, it is not a pay to win thing, but however, the things you get in boosters, the rares and epics and legendaries really put a lot more pressure on you than what you have available in the common and basic sets. I'm not saying that the cards you have available to you in the common and basic sets are not good. That's not true. There's a lot of very good cards. However, one thing that lacks is very strong win conditions. Cards that really are going to win you the game. So, if you want to be successful against decks of people who did pay a lot of money to get a lot of cards, you're gonna have to have a strong deck with a nice theme and something that really works. And that's why I'm trying to tinker, and I've been tinkering a lot actually to see what I can do, what the Mage has to offer, because this week I want to work with the Mage. And as you can see, this is the deck I made. Yeah, you're probably looking at it already and wondering, oh, okay, he puts that. Okay, I see. Maybe you already have the feel of what this deck is all about. But okay, let's go in the mindset that I put myself into, which was to think of the hero power of the Mage. The Mage can do a 1 damage for 2. Which you'll usually use to deal damage to an opposing ally or things like that, an opposing minion. So when I really should stop saying ally. Sorry about that. I know, WoW TCG fans out there, you rock. But of course we call them minions here. So most of the time you want to deal with minions with that hero power. But also there's lots of times when you say, okay, I have nothing to do, so I might as well ping your hero for 1 damage, which is not bad, of course, but it's not optimal. You could also use that power to a bigger advantage, and that's what this deck revolves around. Well, not entirely, but that was the basic idea I started with. I was thinking, okay, so what if I made a deck where my allies can actually use this. That's why I added enrage allies like Gurubashi Berzerker that can actually you can put on turn 2. Usually it has a good chance to survive. It's a 2/3, so it has 3 health. And if it survives, then you just ping it for 1. It becomes a 5/2. Which really puts a lot of pressure early on in the game and allows you to, in the later game, to deal with things that are on the board in a nice fashion, I think. Another ally that has this enrage here is the Tauren Warrior. It just costs 1 more, but it has taunt, so it gives you some defense. It has a very versatile touch to it that I like. Another ally that did not make the cut in this deck is the Shield Bearer. I like Shield Bearer, mind you, but I just didn't really find the room to put it there, and I thought, okay, it's a very defensive ally. Do I want to make a really defensive deck? I don't really, because I'm a mage and I have spells to defend myself with, which comes to, oh, okay, I'm just first going to go over all the allies that I thought to put in this deck because of this idea to deal damage to my own allies. Acolyte of Pain, whenever this minion takes damage, draw a card. So, well, if it's, when you put it out, it might take a damage. It might be killed by your opponent, but it will very likely take damage. I don't see any opponent trying to like really focus on silencing this or want to play an assassinate on it. I think it is kind of a cool thing that this is not a very beefy ally that you're really scared of, and you actually really think, do I really want to use removals to prevent my opponent from drawing a card? I think in most cases it will receive damage, so it's always, it's not a lost card. And well, it combines well with your hero power if it remains long enough on the board. And then, well, later on in the game, of course, it does not have as much utility, but you can still put it down and then ping it and do 1 damage. That's very suboptimal, of course. That's 5 mana for 1 draw. But okay, it's not completely useless, I would say. To reinforce these, because of course we're going to we might deal damage to them, there's always the Stormwind Champion that can then make your minions even stronger. And this is also going to be the win condition in this game. Well, I'm not really going to talk about a win condition because it's only a 6/6. It's not really something that you're afraid of, like someone put a Deathwing or something. But you have to remember that we are here with a budget deck, and of course those extremely powerful allies, or extremely powerful minions, are not available to us. And when looking at in the 5, 6 and more cost range, this is really the only minion that really makes me think, okay, it's a good minion to have in the 6 cost department. There's another minion, and I'm gonna get right now. It's Mage. It has spell power, and I put all the spell power allies in this deck. And for one big reason is that I want to be able to control the board. I want to be able to have an active defense. That's what the Mage is good about. Being active, being defensively active. There's decks that are defensive but that just defend, and you could make such a deck with a Mage, but then you would play Ice Lance and you would play Frost Nova, and you would be maybe you could even play a Mirror Image, which I don't really like. But with the Stormwind Champion it becomes okay-ish, but then okay, you would have to put a Cult Master because that makes more sense, and then all of this deck, the whole idea of this deck doesn't work anymore. So I want to be defensively active, and this plus spell power help us deal with a lot of troubles, especially with Arcane Explosion. Arcane Missiles to a lesser extent, because it's random, you never know what happens. But anyways, on turn 3 I can always play a Kobold Geomancer and an Arcane Missiles, and it will deal 6 damage. So whatever happens, it's a very cheap way to deal 6 damage, right? And Arcane Missiles is a cheap way to deal 1 damage whatsoever. So that's why I like to put the spell powers. There's not that many damaging spells. There's 3. There's Arcane Missiles, Arcane Explosion, and Frostbolt. But that's enough for me. I think Fireball and Pyroblasts are way too situational. And then Ice Lance as well. I wouldn't want to play Ice Lance if I didn't play Frost Nova. So yeah, that's why I chose those spells. Of course, there's also Polymorph because it's the best removal spell in the game. And there's Arcane Intellect because, well, we really want to draw. We don't want to get out of steam. We don't want to run out of steam. And actually, I was hesitating between putting Arcane Intellect and the Shield Bearer. It was really a tough choice, I think, because it's defense versus durability. That's really the question I was asking myself. And so that's why I chose Arcane Intellect. What do we have also? Water Elemental. That's one of those minions that is extremely good, in my opinion, for to be actively defensive. It can freeze a character, so if it can really efficiently deal with small minions, like knife jugglers, all those annoying minions that like have 3 health. There's so many minions with 3 health that you really want to get rid of. And you're very happy if you have a water elemental on the board at that time. And it freezes. So it can also attack like a very big opponent, a very big minion that you're scared of, and maybe the water elemental will not survive this, even though he has 6 health, so he'll probably survive, but okay, maybe he won't. But still, you would have frozen him and dealt 3 damage. So at worst, it's like a lesser frost bolt for 4 that deals the damage 1 turn later, but it has board present, and it can give you actually a lot of unfair trades. I mean, unfair to your opponent. That's why I like it. One more card that I put in there is, okay, I put Senjin Shieldmaster, once again, because I wanted to have a little bit of defense. But I did not put Mogushan Warrior because it's a 1/7 with taunt for the same cost. But I think it's more passively defensive. This is more actively defensive. I can use it for offense as well, very effectively. And finally, there's Spellbreaker. I wanted to have a way to silence a minion other than Polymorph. I like to keep Polymorph for really troublesome allies, like some that really like big things, big beefy allies with 7 damage that are really scary. Spellbreaker is more to deal with minions that are like very annoying but not that threatening. Probably like an Imp Master or something like that. And I could have put Wise Owl, but I prefer Spellbreaker because the Wise Owl, once on the board, does not have much presence, whereas Spellbreaker does. And I think here we have overall a deck that is balanced between control and aggression. It's kind of a control aggro deck. And well, I haven't tested it out, so I haven't played against people with it. But I'm definitely going to try to play with it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you actually think that there are some good decisions in this deck. Maybe there are decisions that are not so good. Maybe you think Acolyte of Pain does not fit in this deck, for instance. Maybe you think I could put something else. I really look forward to hearing what you guys think about it. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And hope to see you next Wednesday on Budget Day.